Peace, love, and blessings, fam. Johnny Sally here with Day 7 of Wisdom of the Ages by Wayne W. Dyer. If you've missed the previous days, you can go catch them on my YouTube at Loyalty Life, spelled L-Y-F-E, Legacy LLC. Or you can catch them on my Facebook at Johnny Sally Jr. So, let's get into Day 7. Being childlike. Except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus Christ is one of the world's major religious figures, regarded by Christians as the Messiah predicted by the Old Testament prophets. Recently, while preparing to give a lecture in a town far from home, I had the strange experience of looking directly into a wall mirror while sitting at a desk. The entire wall was one gigantic mirror, and every time I looked up, there was this body looking back at me while I was writing in a notebook. Finally, I just stopped and stared back. I couldn't grasp the fact that this was actually me reflected in the mirror. I remember saying to myself, "That's an old man who's raining my face." As I stared back, I thought of the invisible being living inside each of us. This being is without boundaries or form, thus no beginning or end. This is the silent, invisible witness that is ageless and unchanging. This is the eternal child inside each of us. It is as ageless children that we become synonymous with heaven, which represents that eternity where forms and boundaries, beginning and ends, ups and downs are all meaningless. Heaven is not a place with borders, perimeters, edges, and precincts. Rather, it represents that which transcends demarcations. It is the same as that little child Jesus speaks of in this telling observation. In there, always with us, never aging, yet watching, always watching. Noticing the droopings of the eyelids, the wrinkling of the skin, the silvering of the hair. Indeed, it is an old man who is renting my face these days. The ageless child in me, my eternal, unchanging observer, knows nothing of judgment and hatred. There is nothing to judge, no one to hate. Why? Because it doesn't see appearances. It only knows how to look with love on everything and everyone. It is what I call the absolute allower. It simply allows everything to be as it is and only notices the unfolding of God in everyone it encounters. Being without shape, size, color, or personality, this ageless child inside fails to notice such trivial distinctions. Not living on either side of any man-made border, it cannot indulge in ethic or cultural identification. And thus, warfare over these artificial terminus points is impossible. Consequently, that invisible, ageless child is always at peace, just witnessing, just observing, but more important, just allowing. Recently, I had the experience of running early one morning and feeling so exhilarated that I hurdled over a 3.5-foot fence as I came back to the hotel at the completion of my run. My wife, who was observing me, let out a scream and said to me, "You can't do that. You don't jump over fences when you're 56 years old. You could kill yourself." My immediate response to her was, "Oh, I forgot." That invisible, ageless me, who is my eternal observer, forgot for an instant that it was living in a body that has been here for over half a century. To me, this passage of Jesus from the New Testament speaks to the process of forgetting about our bodies as primary identity, forgetting about our ethnic identity, our spoken language, our cultural label, the shape of our eyes, or what side of the border we grew up on, then making the conversion to become as little children who are impervious to such compartmentalizing. Jesus was not saying we should be childish and become immature, undisciplined, and uneducated. Instead, he was referring to being childlike, which is non judgmental, loving, accepting, and incapable of placing labels on anyone or anything. When we are able to be as little children, we realize that in every adult, there's a child who desperately wants to be known. It is the child who is full and the adult who is usually empty. The fullness of the child is evident in peace, love, non-judgment, and allowing. The emptiness of the adult reveals itself in fear, anxiety, prejudgment, and fighting. Enlightenment can be seen as a process of remembering that in the heart of a little child there is purity. And it is this pure, divine love and acceptance that is the ticket to the kingdom of heaven. Make it one of your goals in life to be more childlike in everything you do. The quality that we see in geniuses is equivalent to the inquisitiveness of children. Geniuses and children share a willingness to explore without thoughts of failure or worries about criticism. I think the key word in this passage of Jesus is converted. We are being told to become something that is perfect, kind, loving, and above all, eternal. It resides in each of us, and it cannot age or die. The gentle, silent witness is what we want to convert to. That naive but imaginative mystic who is naturally spiritual is the child we want to convert to. When we do, we become childlike and leave behind our childish adult ways, which are the ways that prevent us from entering the eternal kingdom of heaven. That kingdom is available to you here, now on earth, as it is in heaven. All you have to do is make the conversion. To do so, spend as much time as you can and manage observing little children. As you do, recall the child in you who would love to play with them. The ancient thinker Heraclitus once said, "Man is most nearly himself when he achieves the seriousness of a child at play." Be more childlike, playful, loving, and inquisitive as you make your conversion to the kingdom of heaven. When you find yourself acting serious and stodgy, remind yourself of the invisible observer inside you that is noticing your somber side. Is that observer grim as well? You'll quickly see that your childlike witness cannot be at all like what it is witnessing. Then vow to make the immediate conversion. Make the decision that I am never going to let an old person inhabit my body. Your body may indeed be rented by an aging being, but that eternal, invisible observer who is noticing it all will stay childlike, innocent, and ready to enter the kingdom of heaven at the appointed time with such an attitude firmly in place. So, being childlike. I've had that happen before, where I was doing something and somebody else observed and was like, "Hey bro, you can't do no backflip. You can't race them children like that." And it's that part of us that other religious texts speak of, that is the continual observer that will judge you at the end of your time on this manifest plane. It is the thing that is watching every aspect of what you do in your life. It is the same thing that records everything from the time that you were in the womb to the time that you become 7. And it is said that if you show me the child at 7, I'll show you the man. Because children are literally walking around like little computers, more so in a state of hypnosis, downloading everything that goes on around them. If you ever notice, unless a child has been predispositioned to stay away from other children, and that's usually after a certain age. You put infants together, they just naturally play together. Children will show you the purity of life. If you put a child around an animal, that's not going to attack it, of course. It's not going to try to eat that animal. It's going to try to love that animal. It's going to try to get to know that animal from the truest vibrational expression of hugging and caring. Children can definitely teach us what and how it is to be pure at heart. That's why they can still see onto the spiritual plane, because there's a level of innocence that hasn't been tainted by the ways of man, by the adult ideologies of society, of trying to force and control another individual to be or operate in the form that you feel they should. We can touch back on one of the notes from yesterday that was in alignment with that. Insisting that a thing is impossible because we cannot accomplish it. Because we as adults don't know what it's like to be childlike and just be loving anymore. Many of us have become hardened and can't believe it can be done. And attempting to compel others to believe and live as we do. Now, there's a double-edged sword to that. Because in some right, in some regard, there are some who have figured out a foundational basis called the golden rule of how we should operate in general. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. But the problem there is many people don't even know how to love themselves. So how can they treat somebody else the way they want to be treated when they don't even know how to treat themselves because of what they've received in the world? From certain family structures that they've been born into to help them grow into certain things and heal this lifetime. So that is where we have to observe the inner child in us by observing the outer children running around, and learn to tap back in to that silent, observing, loving, caring, non-judgmental state. It is a beautiful thing when you can just operate in life and just observe. Me, myself, I try to be a major observer to where it creates contention sometimes with people because I just observe and then I follow through. So if I notice that you're not communicating with me, there's no need to get mad. I just pull back. If I'm led to, or, my spirit guides or agency leads me to reach out to a person, then I shall. But I don't chase people down. There's no need in that. Why? Because everybody is entitled to operate and live how they choose or want to. My big pet peeve, I can accept what you do. If you can't accept what I do, just keep that to yourself. You don't have to try to force it on me. A child that I would tell how I observe the world is going to say, okay. They're still going to love you. They're still going to hug you. They're still going to care about you as the spiritual manifest. They're still going to care about your soul. The three parts of you that are converged into one. Your soul is here, your heart space, and your solar plexus. And once you transition, you'll hear people say of lights leaving the body. That's what leaves the body, those three light points, and they coalesce together as the soul and venture off. That part of you is always observing everything, and it connects and guides us to those who are childlike, just as you. Because being that childlike essence is the key that opens the door to love of the heart of the gods, love of the heart of everything around you, as far as this matrix that is designed to help you find out who you truly are. And who you truly are is that childlike essence when you're watching a reel about cats and you just bust out laughing. It's that you that gets around your best friend. You're literally in tears all day behind the simplest of things. Learn to embody that. Learn to allow that essence to flow with you more often. And you'll see and appreciate the side of yourself that is that divine child that gets you into heaven. And the reality is, once you find that divine child, your experience here becomes heaven because the pureness of your heart allows you to accept and love everything. Walk in love, walk in light, walk in peace, and know that you are loved.